showing cost or detailing costs. It's done by Culver Marketing and the Canadian Centre for Pollution Prevention. And there, they looked at operating community bylaw programs and discovered the costs average between 50 cents and $1 per citizen per year.
So what's just been passed right now is a motion to have a pilot project in that educational thing?
What has been passed has been that at budget time we're going to look at it.
Okay. So has there been anything in discussion in bringing forward a bylaw? That's not a budgetary discussion, is it?
Well, yes, it is.
Is it? So that's when you introduce bylaw, when you discuss the budget?
Martin
doesn't know the answer.
The money will be to draft a bylaw.
Oh, to draft a
pesticide and bylaw, and to do spend money on a pilot project and to do an education campaign.
Yeah, but where is the will? I haven't heard any will discussed or mentioned among you guys about actually coming up with a bylaw to ban pesticides.
No, but I'll put you on. I'll let Councillor Cannon speak to that. Okay, Councillor Cannon.
So what we want to look towards for the Environment Management Committee is, we've discussed it actually several meetings. What it is, make a select committee that's just work on putting together the timeline, like an education program, how we're going to go ahead with an education program and a timeline. And with that committee, I mean, I can say personally, I don't 5 years or 3 years, like I want to see it fairly soon. Like if that committee has to meet more often than normal so that we can get through this, because I want to move forward on this. I want to see,
what's your timeline?
I would like to see it, this January that we're implementing the education program, like 2008, and I would like to see, I guess, the pesticide bylaw by 2009, but I would even like to see it sooner. But realistically, I need to look, at what everyone else is thinking when we strike up the selection committee.
I think Dr. Bell made a very good point about, education by itself is not really something that's going to be all that effective unless you have it educating towards an implementation date.
That's exactly what we want to do, is to have the educate with the timeline together. But the first step is to have that money allocated in the budget, move towards that.
Anyways, we'll move quickly towards a law that's going to be implemented so that we can start getting protected like 40% of the rest of Canada is already. Thanks.
The motion that you passed tonight is just to have your education year, and then it will just be the pilot project. So when you have your implementation date, will that be the pilot project?
We're still on Councillor Cannon.
All that we've actually passed tonight is in our budget deliberations to for $35,000 for our education program, and then also a pilot project that we want to do as this is what we can use, whether we use industrial vinegar or whatever we're going to use to maintain the park.
And when does the pilot project start?
It'll spring if it's passed. That's my understanding. And then from this stage, we're going to put a committee together that's going to work on timelines. Like, it's not going to be just this budget deliberations on this amount and then just left on the back burner. We're going to move forward with this bylaw.
Yeah, there's still a little way.
But to pass bylaw right here at this meeting tonight without, have budget to help us move forward with this, I don't think would be the right thing to do myself. But
And it's contrary to law. We have to have the money in place before we go ahead with the program.
It still sounds a little negative though, so I think that what people are saying is if you can have that date in the bylaw, then that would be to people, because even here it sounds like it's very vague. So having a clear date, I think, go a long way.
the other thing is that this has to be passed in the budget.
Yeah.
So there's still another step. Like, I know that I'm not going to nix it from the budget, but I hope everyone else is on the same page. So there's still another part to this.
Yes, but as you're presenting that as a budget issue, then putting a fixed date in there would be really formulating a plan and making people feel as though this is a real form plan. It's a little nebulous still, so.
I don't know that we could put a date on it without having the money set aside in the budget. I don't think that we
When we do the
could.
budget meeting, that's what I'm saying. So the motion says with a view to a date if this budget is approved, so that there is a kind of hard and fast date, so we're clear on that.
Nothing happens fast, I can tell you that.
All right. Are there any more questions?
Mindful of your injunction, Mayor Bootsma, I have a question for Councillor specifically. Has consideration been or has action been given or action taken to actually have visits or have staff go and consult with programs that are already in place, bylaws and education programs that are already in place? I've heard Kamloops and Kelowna mentioned, but not places that are already in place.
That's right. I believe staff has studied certainly the Kamloops bylaw. I'm not sure about the Kelowna one.
They don't have actual bylaws and they have no program.
No, they have no bylaws. They have,
But there are
they have
cities
draft bylaws.
There are cities that do have. Has staff actually gone to and or consulted with people who've been running successful non-pesticide-based programs for, in some cases, a decade?
I'm not sure if they have, but if this committee will certainly look into that.
Question.
Only question.
Dr. Brady went over the issue of the toxic breakdown products of these chemicals and how their half-life is a month perhaps. And of course all that goes into our drinking water supply. Is there any testing done of our drinking water supply for the levels of these compounds?
I know it's tested for many things, but I'm sure it's not tested for a lot of other things. Is any staff aware of what it's tested for and what it's not tested for?
Your Worship, I can't speak to the exacts of every single, but we do test, but it's compounds, arsenic, lead, manganese, different. I could get a copy of that for you to show you
I think
now.
any of those are products of the cosmetic pesticides. So, I mean, that's the issue to make drinking water supply. Thank you.
Any further questions?
Just to follow through small children who use the construction water project. I'm wondering if there's any way to figure out the costs of including the playfields in the pilot project, such that you wouldn't use pesticides on your fields, and what the cost would be to use an organic solution for the year. Whether it would be how much more it would cost to do that. Just deliberations perhaps look at that.
Yeah, I think that was...
Instead of spraying, whatever on your fields, for that year, what would it cost to not spray something else organic on your field for that year?
And I think that was brought up earlier, and
Your Worship, I can speak to that. We currently do not spray playfields such as Little Mountain Sports Park or Blackburn. They're not sprayed.
They're not.
We manage those now with aggressive turf management, aerating, top dressing, irrigation. They're not sprayed now.
thank you. No, this is a public
What I want
question.
to do
Okay, hang on. I've got 5 names up here, so if I'm going to let anybody speak, I'll do it in order here.
I'm saying that a lot of the questions that are being asked could be answered by Appendix 5.
Councillor Lyson.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question which I asked, but I think it should be public knowledge.
He's a bitchy man,
Because
this guy.
this is a motion the motion that we discussed this evening was to refer this $45,000 to budget deliberations. By no means at this point that this money is officially being allocated. It's just being mentioned that we will discuss this monies at our budget time. So budget deliberations, I don't have the date set for it. I don't know what day it is. However, they are open to public, and public pressure is always a welcome concern. At time of budget deliberations, and those meetings are open to the public to put pressure on council, so this project does not get nixed. So if anyone knows what date the budget is, then that would be my question, Your Worship.
Councillor Cannon, Flynn, and Cantor, and then call for adjournment. Councillor Cannon.
I'm fine, actually.
Councillor Flynn.